Yacht Rock, Jayhawk, and the bloomin' hollyhock. It's Rhyme and Reason 677.
There's a rhyme and reason for your life. There's a rhyme and reason why you...
Hey there, Tony here. And it seems like that's not as easy to say as I was thinking it would be. Yacht Rock. Yacht Rock. It sounds funny when you say it out loud. Yacht Rock. Doesn't even come out right. But Yacht Rock is a thing. Of course, I had no idea. I was listening to music from that genre, and it's mainly because it wasn't called Yacht Rock back when I was listening to it, and still listen to it sometimes. Plus, to be completely transparent on this matter, as is the odd trend these days, I never heard of that term until this past week. Yacht Rock. Just sounds weird to say it. Yacht Rock. Sounds like a little kid who can't say it right. Yacht Rock. Yacht Rock. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But it's supposed to be that West Coast sound from the 70s and early 80s. And apparently it has its own channel on streaming services like Spotify and iHeartRadio. So obviously I'm behind the times, but I didn't know any of that until this past week. But anyway, back to my story, okay? It was September of 1977. There was still enough warmth to be able to drive with the windows down, and yet cool enough to make you appreciate life with exhilaration. You know, like the shimmering gold of the wheat fields with the pink, yellow, and white blooms of the towering hollyhocks around the edges of the fields, and the ever-present hawks patiently perched on telephone poles or lines or limbs as they looked for lunch. Yeah, it was that kind of Kansas day. And I had just bought a brand new cassette of a brand new release from the band Steely Dan. And their new album, titled Aja, A-J-A, that's what was on this cassette. And since there were about 30 or 40 minutes in my drive from the city back to my small town digs, I had plenty of time for listening to some of those new tunes. Maybe, at least half the cassette before you had to flip it over or let it click over, depending on how far along, your technology was. Anyway, as the cassette rolled through the tunes, my ears were pretty much immediately hooked. Not just the cool instrumentation, but also the clever yet vague lyrics, like on the title tune with lines like, "Up on the hill, people never stare, they just don't care. Chinese music under banyan trees, here at the Dude Ranch, above the sea." Yeah, I'm guessing only the writers know exactly what that meant, but the lyrics fit the tune like a glove. I mean, there were short verses followed by the catchy chorus, and I think it was very engaging chord progressions, not the usual top 40 predictable hits. The third verse from Aja said, "Up on the hill, they think I'm okay, or so they say. Chinese music always sets me free. Angular banjos sound good to me." See what I mean? Angular banjos. That's pretty cool. You don't hear that kind of lyric in most pop top 40. I'll put it that way. And I enjoyed that new Steely Dan cassette over and over. I'd been a slight fan of theirs after I heard Reelin' in the Years in high school. And Reelin' in the Years, by the way, was a song that Christopher Cross sang at my high school prom. Yeah, remind me to tell you about that sometime. But if you followed me for a while, you might have guessed there'd be a but. But it's always disappointing, but no longer a surprise to hear talented and intelligent musicians open their mouths and show how stupid they are. And Donald Fagen, who is the remaining founding member of Steely Dan, is no exception to that. In an interview with Rolling Stone magazine, I guess this is from around 5 years ago, Fagen was asked if, you've said "Mary Shut the Garden Door" from Morph the Cat, and that's a song and an album. You've said that was about what happens when a thuggish cult gains control of the government. Did you predict Donald Trump? And he replied, "Not specifically, but as proved by a British study, all those right-wingers suffer from an enlargement of the amygdala in the lower brain. It makes them paranoid and aggressive. Hopefully, there will be a corrective surgery for this in the near future, if we make it to the near future. Amygdala, that word, should be a link in the show notes. If not, you can go to TonyFunderburk.com/Yachtrock. Yachtrock. That's YAHCT. Is that Y? Did I spell that right? YACHT. Oh, duh. Yachtrock. Doesn't even. It seems like it should be YOT. YOT rock. I'm getting off in a rabbit trail there. Anyway, you go there and you'll see a link for amygdala, and you'll see that it's not what Fagan's talking about. And he made it some sort of a right-wing issue. Paranoid and aggressive. Come on. This is from a guy who was arrested and charged with domestic violence for shoving and bruising his wife when he was 67 years old. You know, I'm sure it was just a result of some sort of itis or ism, and he's got it all controlled with drugs now. Oh, anyway. Yeah, I've been a big fan of yacht rock, not necessarily the yacht rockers who made the yacht rock. And I've been accused of writing and singing songs in that genre myself. But I'm also, like I said, diametrically opposed to the worldviews of the famous and commercially successful yacht rockers, at least most of them. It's kind of like I'm playing the harp in an orchestra of angular banjos. Yeah, it's kind of like that. Or maybe I'm the angular banjo in an orchestra of everyone playing their regular instruments. I don't know. Which way should I put it? First way? Second way? You let me know. Thanks again for tuning in to the Rhyme and Reason, whatever this Rhyme and Reason thing is. I appreciate it very much, and it means a lot to me that you would take the time and listen to me ramble on about such things. Thank you so much. And until next time, this is Tony from TonyFunderburk.com, reminding you that life has rhyme and reason because God made you.
There's a rhyme and reason.